Friends, welcome back and good afternoon. To get right into today's SPTV News Live update, how many of you knew that Jerry Seinfeld um, not only dabbled in Scientology, but took many courses? And since 1994, when it kind of became public on a chat show slash talk show, he's kind of downplayed that through the years, even though he took a quip at him on his show, Seinfeld. Um, Kind of taking a little quip out of L. Ron Hubbard and Scientology. We'll show you that clip coming up. But let's try to settle the rumors, goddammit, because it's come up in the rumor mill again lately. So, was he a Scientologist, and what the hell was his involvement? So, Jerry Seinfeld admitted to taking Scientology courses and found them very helpful. So, over the years, a number of celebrities have become famous, or shall we say infamous, for their connection to the cult of Scientology, from Tom Cruise, discussed earlier today, flying out via a helicopter from the cult headquarters in England, to John Travolta and Kirstie Alley, RIP. And as the scandals involving the cult have gained more attention, particularly in the wake of departure of high-profile whistleblowers like Leah Remini, I'm sure you all know who she is, it's understandable that some public figures would rather not have their names associated with the cult, not least because it's a cult. That list may include Jerry Seinfeld. For decades, the comedian has been questioned about his affiliation with Scientology. While it's not entirely clear why Seinfeld has been dogged by rumors about Scientologist leanings, the association may stem from a feud with comedian Bobcat Goldthwait. I'm probably pronouncing that wrong, but you guys know him from Police Academy. He's the guy in the tags like this. That was a terrible impression, but that's what I was mentioning earlier when it kind of came onto people's radar when in 1994, the 38-year-old Seinfeld made headlines for dating 17-year-old Shoshana Lonstein, and Bobcat took to Arsenio Hall show to claim that Seinfeld was, quote, the devil and a spooky, weird Scientologist guy banging teenage girls. Now, Seinfeld's involvement, he claims, was in the 70s, but you notice here it first became on the public radar. The rumors began spreading when Bobcat asked him on that show in 1994 and claiming that he was hanging out with banging Scientology teenage girls. A year later, Goldthwait was quoted in the Spokesman Review reiterating this view of Seinfeld, quote, here's this creepy Scientologist guy dating teenage girls, which I don't care about one way or the other. What I find creepy is that people are convinced he lives in that apartment, and those are his wacky friends. They don't like each other. They're paid actors to pretend they like Jerry Seinfeld. He's a weird guy, but everybody thinks he's normal. Wow, that's quite a fucking statement from Bobcat. Let me throw you guys over here in the chat because that's big enough where you can read. Plus, I miss you guys, man. Let me throw this down here. If you have any questions as we go along, this is going to be kind of a short one, but we'll either pick them up as we go or when we roll out. But please put those question marks up so we can see them. Okay, so let me just make sure there's nothing else to cover on this particular slide. Okay, so here we go. This is sort of like the latest update here. So Jerry Seinfeld was introduced to Scientology by none other than his high school mechanics teacher. So when Jerry Seinfeld said that he had a little secret about the finale of Seinfeld earlier this month, was this one of those past lives secrets that you find out while you're hooked up to a polygraph, i.e. Scientology's e-meter, which is 2/3 of a lie detector. Like so many A-listers, a Seinfeld star and co-creator has long been associated with the cult of Scientology, both through rumor and his own suggestive remarks about his relationship with the organization. Yesterday, the cruise ship Crusaders made headlines for making the rare move to expel one of their misbehaving celebrities, and that would be Danny Masterson. We know all about that, and that was following decades of allegedly enabling his behavior. So that was September 7th of this year when Danny was convicted, and Seinfeld has come back on the map, having to answer these questions, apparently. So since Masterson's sentencing, there's been renewed interest in the intersection of fame and faith among sitcom fans who wonder what other secrets were drowned out by a laugh track in the late 1990s. It's so interesting, man. I hope I got to get rid of these ads. I hope I'm not reading into it. God damn it. These ads are such a pain in the ass. They're like impossible to get rid of too. Let me see if I can blow this down a little bit. Stand by. Okay. Maybe it'll go for now. Okay. It's interesting, though, with the Danny Masterson revelations, it does seem like there's more Hollywood stuff coming out. And like I said, I don't want to give my hopes up, but we're covering John Stamos a little later tonight and his involvement and brush with Scientology. And I was just researching that last night. And I don't know if you know, but Full House, the cast of Full House, there were some funky pedophilic-esque shenanigans going on, particularly by Bob Saget. And then also the aforementioned cast member John Stamos. So I don't know, man. I think that with Danny Masterson, it being so tied to Hollywood and the cult of Scientology, which in a way are not too far removed from each other at all, this is why I think renewed interest in, who cares about Jerry Seinfeld's past involvement? Or, he kind of sounds like an indie Scientologist, actually, where he's still got the tech in his brain, because you're going to see it actually helped out his career. More to say about that. But I think it's good that it's bringing back other celebrities and Hollywood people, and by way of Danny Masterson and the cult being exposed. So even though celebrities are kind of irrelevant in a certain way, it is good that the spotlight's being shown, because there's a lot more to come out about Hollywood, man, not just Scientology. We don't have to tell you guys that watch the channel regularly about that. But anyway, so let me pull you up right here. So last week, the men's magazine Best Life explored Seinfeld's history with the controversial religious organization. Again, it's not a religion, it's a cult. They do have their religious status, but here in the US, that was only by blackmailing 1,100 members of the IRS, terrifying them, and then making them give their religious status. But there's still a destructive cult by any classification, which, according to the comedian, began back in his teenage years when his high school auto mechanics teacher turned him onto the cult's teachings. It all started with comedians in cars going clear. And here's the stab that Jerry takes at Seinfeld. I'm sure some of you guys have seen this.
I'm Michelle.
Hi, Michelle. I'm George. I didn't mean anything by it. I don't even know Ron Hubbard. I didn't know you were with that group.
What about my fish?
Boy, those Scientologists, they can be pretty sensitive.
I
I wonder how personal that is, and I also wonder how much fair gaming him, the show, the producers, and everybody else got for simply saying that. Let me see if I can blow this back up. Okay, so along with his, oh Lord, along with his interest in high school girls, Seinfeld's fascination with Scientology stretches back to his own teen years, as he's discussed in a 2008 interview with Parade, wherein he explained, quote, I actually got to it from my auto mechanics teacher in high school who was into it, and he was telling me about it, Seinfeld said, and his curiosity was not based on faith, saying, quote, believe it or not, here we go. We were just talking about this the other night with Marilyn in the interview we did, where Scientology is not sold as a faith, it's sold as a technology. It's not something to believe in other words. So Seinfeld says back in 2008, believe it or not, it's extremely intellectual and clinical in its approach to problem solving, which really appealed to me. Exactly. That's the bait on the cheese before they hit you with the crazy shit way, way down the road. They have a lot of very good technology. That's what really appealed to me about it. It's not faith-based. It's all technology. And I'm obsessed with technology. This technology word is another misnomer. There's nothing, it's so funny that he calls the scriptures and the auditing and the hypnosis with the soup cans and the drills and shit a technology. But again, that's a buzzword to attract a lot of people, particularly when the cult was first coming into its prominence. Seeing as this was around the time Star Wars first came out, maybe we should ask him exactly what kind of space technology he thinks the Scientologists wield. Quote, in my early years of stand-up, it was very helpful. And again, man, this is another reason why I want to do something that seems so asinine, but it's actually kind of important, because people ask all the time, how in the horse's ass does somebody, you guys that know how crazy Scientology looks from the outside, how the fuck do they get people in? Well, they get people in through these choruses that do seem to make a lot of sense, but there's a snag and a hook in all of them. So again, it's 2 decades down the road before you ever hear about the infamous Xenu. By that time, your money's drained, your mind is captured, and your family is probably all in it. But they get you in with these little $50 choruses, exactly like Jerry's describing here. And until you go deeper into it, they do appear to help. But I would suggest that they're doing something entirely different. I just wanted to show you real quick, too. Well, we'll get to that in a second, but I'm going to go more into that because it's an important point that he's actually making. So in his early years, he found it very helpful. I took a couple of courses. Seinfeld further explained of his early contact with the cult. Quote, one of them was in communication, and I learned some things about communication that really got my act going. In a 2020 appearance on What the Fuck with Mark Maron, Seinfeld would further discuss these choruses in a more measured tone, saying, quote, I found it very interesting, never pursued it. Well, never pursuing it isn't quite accurate because he's going to talk about some other things here, which I can point you to the choruses that he's talking about. But right here is a key thing. We've talked about this communication chorus being the very first thing that you get involved in Scientology. That's what puts you in the hypnotic trance. We talked about how it did that with my dad, who came back a completely different person after beginning this course one day. And so if you don't go further, perhaps, Scientologists or budding Scientologists would say, what's the problem? But little did Seinfeld know this is actually setting him up for much deeper shit. Thank God he got out. In reference to that, we did a video on the communication course to break, to disabuse people of that idea and to show what it's really doing in this video called Theta Trap. And it goes into great detail about this communication course that Seinfeld said was helpful. And I'll link it in the description box. So he also says, I found it very interesting, never pursued it, saying that he enjoyed its emphasis on ethical behavior. Again, that's another course I'll show you in a second, which seems to make a lot of sense at the beginning. But was less attracted to its avoiding negative people trip, referencing the cult's practice of keeping a list of suppressive persons who behave in a way that is antipathetic to the organization's interest. So, again, they have some I've said this in this series, man, at the beginning, and how my parents duped me into it. They have things called ethics conditions where you can graph your life. You can staticize everything in your life. You can do a communication course under the guise of hypnotism that makes you think you can look people right in the eye. You get comfortable sitting in front of another person. None of these would necessarily be bad. But again, you have to see that video Theta Trap to appreciate the influence the environment's having on you and what those drills are actually doing. But this is how a lot of people get roped in through seemingly very sensible shit. And the courses that he's talking about start out with something like this, where it says, let me pull you out of here just so I can get a bigger picture. But this is like a $50 course or, $20 booklet called Communication. And this is the gradient, how they bring you in. And they have more in-depth versions. Like if you're a newbie, you would just sign up for something like this. And then they have a more in-depth version. You can't see the title here, but this is called Success Through Communication course. That's sort of a more advanced level of said communication course. And then they have an advanced one called the TRs, the training routines, basically. TRs and objectives course, not to hit you with too much nomenclature, but those are the courses that can be seem very sensible. And then the ability to put your ethics in and do things ethically that Seinfeld was describing is this ethics book. And again, there's courses that are based on this. Introduction to Scientology Ethics. It's actually like a super Orwellian thing, but it's all very clever the way Hubbard wrote it to bait you in. And as far as the negative people go, Seinfeld's talking about the infamous PTSD technology or course where you learn about how to get evil people, i.e. those people that are trying to tell you you're in a cult, out of your life through being brainwashed by this crazy ass shit. Anyways, back to the article. Hope that made sense and didn't lose too many of you, but that's what he's talking about. So he did many courses. They might have been basic ones, but he doesn't know how close he was probably to getting sucked in. So that just to reiterate, is the emphasis on the ethical behavior I just showed you, the avoiding negative people trip where you deal with suppressive persons, and the aforementioned communication course. Though Seinfeld denied being a member of the cult, he told Maron that he does consider himself, quote, a spiritual guy, saying comedy is very spiritually satisfying. You're risking your own personal comfort to make total strangers happy, make them feel good for just a moment. That's a spiritual act. And here we thought the motivation for the B movie was money. That's really well said, actually, man. I mean, I came to find out that all I needed all along was art anyways. And that's what kind of helped me break the Scientology spell. If Seinfeld's, speaking from the heart there, he probably doesn't need a religion. But what is his religion today? And is he in fact telling the truth? Setting the record straight, Seinfeld clarified on what the fuck that he's not a Scientologist, but Jewish. Although he shared that his mother was born into a large family of Syrian Orthodox Jews, he admitted to not being particularly religious himself. Quote, I'm Jewish and we celebrate some of the big ones, he said of his spiritual leanings. And by the way, they tell budding Scientologists that you can be any religion. That's just a PR front or term. They'll beat it out of you. And you learn as you go up the bridge that Hubbard thought all religions were mind control and that Jesus was a pedophile. He was very anti-religious. And in fact, he considered himself to be Lucifer incarnate. While not religious, he did confirm that he is what Maron characterized as, quote, a spiritual guy. Asked to elaborate, Seinfeld said he found deeper satisfaction through his work. Comedy's very spiritually satisfying. Okay, we already covered that. And then he says it's a spiritual act. And he just said that regards to spirituality, I try to be good to people all the time. I'm always trying to be generous to people. Okay, I think that's basically it. Let me make sure I didn't forget anything here. Okay, so that's basically it. Like I said, short video, but maybe we can use these celebrities and the Danny Masterson incident to expose much more to come. Regards Hollywood and cults. You guys have any questions before we roll out of here? Philosophy, how are you doing, my friend? Doug, how did you undo that blank stare that the cult members have that you were taught? That's a really good question. And it took a long time because it wasn't automatic. That philosophy and the words, the nomenclature. So with the words, I went out of my way to every time I think a Scientology word, I would find the English translation. That went on for years to learn how to speak like a normal human. And I still make mistakes on that. And the stare was freaky because my friends would, I told my friends around me that I'm going to change a little bit. I'm going to work on not looking at them all the time because all I knew was to do that, which can be kind of intimidating. But that's what they were used to. So I would consciously look around when we were talking. I literally had to make myself stop staring. And that was a couple-year process to make it come naturally. I'd like to think that all of that programming is gone. I really don't think in terms of Scientology words or concepts because I started from a blank sheet of paper like I talked about before. And really, the only thing that was going to be left on that blank sheet of paper, if anything turned out to be true in Scientology, was only after I found the English translation and the bodies of knowledge that Hubbard stole from. And then I found out nothing was original. The original sources that he stole from do have some good knowledge. I don't have the terms in my head. And it took a couple of years to get rid of and really working on it, how to get rid of that stare. It's absolutely a terrifying stare too, if any of you guys have actually seen it. I think we covered a bit of it in that Theta Trap video as well. What's going down? Desenterra Salazar, I'm probably mispronouncing that. Apologies. Have you been pronouncing Seinfeld wrong this whole time? Doug, as always, you make me question by assumptions. I probably got it wrong. I mean, it's a good point you bring up, though. There's so many cultural references, names, words, and everything that I completely fuck up because I didn't get a lot of those references while I was just in the bubble world of just learning Hubbard's gibberish. So if I what is it? I don't know how else you pronounce it. Am I mispronouncing it? Undoubtedly. If it's pronounced a different way, apologies, Seinfeld and Desi. I can't even pronounce your fucking name, man. Not least because it's kind of hard to see on this program that I'm using. But I don't know, guys. You always catch me on words, and I apologize in advance for fucking up names and words and shit. Philosophy. Do you think Do you think it's sold as a technology to suck in more religious people? To suck in non-religious people? Like, we already got the Christian cults and the New Age cult, but how can they get others in? From personal experience, yes, because I was one of those people that didn't like the official version or narrative of basic society. I thought religions were full of shit because the whole faith thing, you're a born sinner, and this dude I never met died for my sins. It never made, I didn't have a natural inclination for that. So Scientology, I do think it's set up not for all people, but to capture those people that are perhaps looking, they don't buy religion, they don't buy the official narrative. And L. Ron Hubbard does have the perfect kind of scheme to sell people more, but that more is not real. There is no state of clear. There's not one single clear on the planet, as L. Ron Hubbard describes it in Dianetics, and there's not a single OT. So basically, another way to get them, maybe prosecuted. There's a huge thing in Scientology where they're stuck on delivering what they promise, but not only do they not deliver what they promise, they're literally doing false advertising. So the loose definition of an operating Thetan, which is a vague promise, but it's a promise in the cult. But then, of course, within their documents, they don't really promise anything, but you're basically sold that this tech works 100% of the time. The state of OT that they're selling for $1 million+ exists. And that's loosely this: you'll be at cause, whatever the hell that means, right? At cause over matter, energy, space, time, form, and event, both subjective and objective. In other words, you're a god, right? Now, it might be difficult to quantify exactly how you would know you were able to do that, but I would think walking through walls or projecting yourself to another universe might prove that, but there's not been a single person that's been able to do that. If they say they have implanted false memories, which is what Scientology really does to make you think that you're jumping out of your body and all these things are happening. I would suggest they don't. It's just a hypnosis trick. When you get into dissociated states like Scientology does, it's really easy to be suggestible, to have what's happening reframed for you so you accept it as a suggestion. And also, it does feel like you're a bit out of your body because of the very dissociation, what it does to people. So I feel like I just rambled, of course, like usual, but absolutely. You just heard, I'm afraid to say Seinfeld now. Did I mispronounce it? What else would it be? Apologies. Let's say Jerry. Jerry just said that, man. He sounded like he was 2 feet away from getting sucked in because he said, and this is what I went through, I like the communication shit. It helped me with my fucking stand-up. I like the ethics conditions. The only thing he had a problem with, probably because they hit him with it too early, is the suppressive technology, that PTS SP course that I showed you, which stands for potential trouble source /suppressed person. That can be a little hard on a newbie because that's the part that immediately gets you to remove everybody from your life that is hindering your spiritual progress in any way. And that's a whole mind fuck unto itself. Yes, that, Hubbard was a very clever salesman philosophy. He knew that there's going to be X amount of people that are going to not buy into the religious shit. They might have questions about officialdom, and the cult, along with a lot of the New Age cults, were designed, I think, specifically to capture those people and make a shitload of money off of it. Nasty, what's going down, man? Again, a tribute to your service. Nasty is a First Amendment auditor that keeps these cultists honest, and he's very good at not, being aggressive and just seeing if they pass their First Amendment, and let him film. I'm going to link Nasty's channel in the YouTube, by the way, because he has endless interesting videos confronting these people. Question, Doug, I'll be in LA this weekend. No shit. We missed each other the other last time, bro. Do you want to meet up for a margarita? Yes, man. I have your number, Nasty, so just give me a fucking call and we'll talk off air. Yes, and apologies that we missed each other last time, but let's make it happen. Let's go to the Tiki Bar next to SMP. I would love to, man. Maybe we can even do a First Amendment audit, bro, and we'll just see if SMP, by the way, that's their fake kind of Hollywood headquarters where, David Miscavige, having the ego of Mars, he decided that he needs to compete with Hollywood. So they bought this cheesy, well, not totally cheesy, somewhat historic, but kind of rundown place called KCET, which is right in the heart of Hollywood. And it's where they blast out all the propaganda, making hate videos about Leah Remini, Aaron Smith Levin, all the people on the aftermath. They literally do nothing, but it's just Dave's delusions of thinking he's some kind of Hollywood mogul or some shit. We definitely need to hit that place, my man. Let's see if there's anything else before we roll out of here. Like the word destiny. Are you fucking with me now, Desinterra? I mean, is that have a double way of saying it? Destiny? I feel like I'm just losing it. You guys are just fucking with me. Okay, any more questions? Stand by. Okay, that looks good, my friends. So we'll see you later tonight. Like I said, we'll cover John Stamos. There's a couple other celebrities too that can help us. I know it's ludicrous. I don't really like covering the celebrities too much specifically about that, but the fact that they can lead into other avenues. And also, just like with Jerry, you can see how, people, especially in Hollywood, can get trapped, not because they're idiots, but because they're being led in by the technology. Doesn't that have such a lovely ring to it? Again, the Scientology seems to be the outro to go with, considering everything we've been discussing today. So we'll see you soon, my friends. And as always, stay safe, stay sane, and most definitely don't join the cult of Scientology.
I found out long ago it's a long way down the holiday road. Holiday road. Holiday road. Jack be nimble, Jack be quick. Take a ride on the West Coast gig. Holiday road. Holiday road. Holiday road. Holiday road. Holiday road.
Welcome to Hollywood. What's your dream?
Some dreams come true, some don't. But keep on dreaming. This is